Hello, Space Coast. I'm Ron Lighthall, and we are here high above beautiful Port Canaveral at the Exploration Tower. An incredible view, and I am here with two distinguished gentlemen who are representing our wonderful Space Coast and the development and something so near and dear and important to our economy here in Brevard County. I am here with Ryan Brown and Kevin Brown, no relation. However, they are here today and they are in the midst of their discussions for the upcoming SpaceCom. And SpaceCom, I'm going to let you explain what SpaceCom is and why it's so important to the Space Coast economy.
So SpaceCom is a trade show and conference that happens every year, first quarter of the year, over in Orlando. But SpaceCom is where the government, the commercial industry here on the coast, the global community, and end-use industry come together in one place at one time to talk about the issues facing the market today, and to focus on innovation and pushing things forward into the future.
Now, when you talk about pushing that innovation, you're also talking about the impacting many economies across the country. Now, of course, it's super important for us here. We are, of course, our moniker is the Space Coast. But you have other areas. You have Huntsville, Alabama. You have Texas, California. So there's a lot of impact that goes into what's going on right now. And now you're starting to see some launches in the Mojave Desert. But it seems like the real cog is right here on the Space Coast in Brevard County.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an integrated community. We need all of those different areas to keep this industry moving forward. Everybody has a different piece of this, but the Space Coast is the unquestioned leader in space launch, and that's why it made sense to bring SpaceCom, and we're actually partnered with Space Congress, which is an event that's been here on the coast that does the exact same thing that we do. It's why it made sense to partner. They've been here for 50 years talking about the same thing, having the same conversation. So as a space launch leader really in the world, this is the place to be to have these conversations and to lead this industry forward.
Now, over the past number of years, we've seen a real move from government-funded and government reliance into the private sector. Now, obviously, your SpaceCom brings a lot of those private sector people together where they're able to have conversations, team up. You have launch services, you have the actual satellite services. So this is a place that they can congregate and know what's out there and what resources that they can take part in.
That's absolutely right, and I think that Kevin, we've been talking all week about the conversation and discourse that happens between the federal agencies and the commercial industry, and how difficult that can be, and how critical and important it is. And so being able to create a platform and a place where those conversations can happen openly and honestly about the challenges we're trying to address as an industry, it's why it's so important to be here to bring this whole community together.
And Kevin, you're with All Points, and All Points, of course, is you have offices in and you'll have to add if I miss any, but I know there's some in Titusville. You have, of course, your main headquarters there on Merritt Island. We've been out there to that facility. Talk a little bit about how important it is to be able to see what's out there for your resources and your services that you can offer in connection with a lot of the space vendors.
Yeah, well, sure. So All Points actually has offices in Huntsville, Houston, Washington, and elsewhere around the country. What we see is an industry that is fundamentally transforming from a largely government operation to something that's driven by commercial markets and new applications that are driven by technologies and applications that simply weren't feasible 5 years or even 3 years ago. We are developing the infrastructure that's necessary to do the space flight that's going to be picking up in the next over the next 5 to 10 years, and that infrastructure is really going to be nationwide. The ground processing, the launch pads, transportation, warehousing, ground control are all ground-based facilities that are absolutely essential to space flight and to space transportation really around the world. And we see a business opportunity to start developing that kind of infrastructure that is not unlike an airport infrastructure developer perhaps 50 years ago. It's a new industry that's growing commercially. and there is a tremendously growing demand for that kind of service and facilities.
There is no business owner or CEO or anybody at the top of the ladder that wouldn't tell you a company is only as strong as its employees. And I know each of you value all of the people that work for you and contribute. Let's talk about the availability and the access to incredibly talented people through our education system, particularly here in Central Florida. You have a very, very good engineering and space-based program in the University of Central Florida. They take great pride in what they contribute to the Space Center. You have an incredible school right here in Melbourne with FIT. In fact, they were actually, their charter was based around the space program. Tell us a little bit about talent acquisition and where you're seeing a lot of this talent coming from and how you're building these winning teams.
Sure, that's a great question, and it's a very important issue for this area. So we, like several or many companies in the area, we have partnerships with Embry-Riddle, with FIT, with UCF. We bring in interns, so which is not all particularly novel. That's a program that's been around for many industries for many years. But what may be novel is we're also engaging these universities in some of our development and operations. They have laboratories and educational programs where they need to expose their students to new techniques, new businesses and operations in the real world to prepare them for jobs in the industry. So we partner with some of those laboratories and programs to provide the venue to give those students that type of real world experience, which goes beyond just your typical intern that's coming in and doing the intern type work.
Just beyond us, but behind us over our shoulder, of course, we have the VAB building. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the future and the growth that you've seen so far, and what the future is going to look like here shortly for the space program and the space industry as it's referred to now.
Yeah, well, I mean, just last night we had a successful launch, at least so far, of the Boeing commercial crew test flight. So, I mean, there's, now if that ends up being a successful mission through, you've got some variability in terms of, heavy launch capability there, commercial launch capability. There's all kinds of innovation happening here on the coast. I mean, we've been talking about it all week, the development, like Kevin was talking about, the infrastructure that would continue to grow here, whether it's at the port or out at Kennedy. But the real growth potential, or another huge piece of growth potential, would be end-use industries that are able to access this port or the data that comes back from space, whether it's from satellite or manned space missions. So that's another element of what we do at SpaceCom and Space Congress is connecting the aerospace industry and the commercial space industry to end-use industries here on Earth, and how they can benefit from space data and use that information to make smarter business decisions and just be more efficient in their business. So absolutely, I mean, we've seen, in our 8-year history, which I know is, we're a baby compared to these companies that are out here on the coast. We've seen it grow tremendously, and it just seems to be accelerating, faster and faster. So it's unbelievable what'll be, come about probably in the next, 5 to 10 years.
Gentlemen, I know you're here for all business. I do want to thank you so much for taking time to join our Space Coast audience and something that's so near and dear, and it touches almost every one of our lives here on the Space Coast. So Kevin, Ryan, thank you so much. And it's time to get downstairs and get to work.
All right.
That's right.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah.